Namaskar. Today I'm going to talk about one of the greatest American playwrights of 20th century, that is Arthur Miller, and his play All My Sons, which was which was published in the year 1947 and which grabbed him the famous Tony Award. At the same time, the strong collaboration with famous theater director Elia Kazan. Arthur Miller, as a dramatist, grew up in certain important historical occurrences. And the first of these is the Great Depression of 1930s, which brought poverty, economic slowdown, and financial crisis. At the same time, one can't fail to understand the impact of World War II on his writings. He has been a dramatist who primarily wrote in the vein of Henrik Ibsen's realism. At the same time, with certain socio-psycho deep insights into the characters. His important plays, apart from All My Sons, are Death of a Salesman, The Crucible, A View from the Bridge, After the Fall, Incident at Vichy, The Price, The American Clock. Apart from these plays, he also wrote several one-act plays for radio and also contributed immensely as a screenplay writer, especially The Misfits, which came in the year 1961. Arthur Miller was born on October 17, 1915, at Harlem, a neighboring town of New York City. His father was Austrian Jewish who migrated to America, maybe in the wake of Holocaust. Adolf Hitler. His family was deeply affected by the Great Depression of 1930s, which made them poor and forced them to move from one place to another. During these days, we also come to know about how, in order to run his livelihood, Arthur Miller had to work as delivery boy. But after coming to America, his father worked hard, his family worked hard, and as a result, they became wealthy and respectful in the community. Arthur Miller happens to be one of the greatest dramatists of America in particular, and of the world in general. When we talk of Arthur Miller as a dramatist, it becomes but necessary for us to name certain contemporary American writers, especially Tennessee Williams, Eugene O'Neill, and Edward Albee. He, as I told earlier, wrote on the model of realism, but at the same time, he brought new concepts, new ideas, which are important to make a proper understanding of the playwright. He came up with a new concept of hero, which is anti-Aristotelian. When I say anti-Aristotelian, it is important to talk about what is Aristotelian. And when Aristotle talks about constituents of a drama, tragedy, he talks about character. And he talks about character in terms of superiority, in terms of degree, in terms of kind. The hero must be of royal blood, blue blood, maybe a king or prince or a duke, but not less than that. But in due course of time, monarchy was replaced by democracy. As a result, we don't have that sense of kinghood, kingdom, princehood, princedom, dukehood, or even dukedom. Democracy staged the performance of common man. So in the altered historical scenario, it is impractical to talk about hero in the line of Aristotelian thought. So we have a new concept of hero, that is, hero is common man. And his play Death of a Salesman is the classic example of that, whereby the play is talking about death of a salesman. Think about it. In his plays, he seems to criticize the concept of American dream, which talks about development, prosperity, and success in the name of money. One is free, one is at liberty to earn as much as possible, and out of that earning, one is capable to accumulate commodities. Commodities which are the results of scientific inventions. One should have a room of one's own, and in the room, a television, fridge, washing machine, a Chevrolet car, and several other things. These have turned out to be, in the light of American dream, the yardsticks to talk about a successful American. If one fails to achieve these, his failure. It is not socially recognized, and he has to think of putting an end to his life. American dream. The new ideal which came out in the wake of capitalism. Tragic flaw. Aristotle had been talking about tragic flaw, hamartia, or hubris in terms of certain weakness, certain defects in the protagonist. Miller too talks about tragic flaw, and to him there's one tragic flaw, and that is fanaticism. Fanaticism is the blind pursuit to achieve a cherished goal or desire or aim. A blind pursuit in which one is in a position to put his or her life at risk. Tragic flaw. Miller wrote for social cause with a strong social conviction. At the same time, with the clarity of conscience and compassion for the humanity at large. In an interview in the year 1994 to Ron Rifkin, Miller confessed that the most contemporary critics regarded his play All My Sons as a depressing play in the time of good optimism. Here it must be remembered that this good optimism refers to America's participation in the Great World War II, in which the Allied forces won. And the winning put America into the center of the world politics. America became the hotspot, superpower, on the way to become superpower, world power. Optimism. He also recalls how positive reviews from Brooks Atkinson of the New York Times saved the play from its doom. Let us talk about the play All My Sons. All My Sons has several characters which I have categorized in three categories. First is the Keller family, which consists of Joe Keller, father, Cat Keller, his wife, Larry and Chris Keller, elder and younger sons. Deaver family, Steve Deaver, father, Ann Deaver, daughter, George Deaver, son. Apart from these, we have certain neighbors of Keller family. Frank Lubbe, his wife Lydia Lubbe, and Frank is a horoscopist. Dr. Jim Bellis, his wife Susie Bellis, and Bert. The play starts when there is a heavy storm and we see a tree uprooted. Joey Keller is the head of the family. He is a factory owner, and his factory produces the accessories of aeroplanes. His wife, Kate Keller, is a devoted wife, a housewife, maybe a homemaker. They have two sons, Larry and Chris. Larry is a pilot who flies aeroplanes, and Chris is at home to help his father in running the business properly. When the play opens, we come to know that Larry is missing. Larry, as I said, is a pilot, and he is flying an aeroplane and participating in World War II. And maybe his plane is crashed and there is no chance of his survival. Frank is working on his horoscope regarding whether he is alive or dead. Kate believes that her son is alive and one day he will come back. But Joe Keller and Chris, they think the opposite. And they seem to believe that Larry will never come back. The problem occurs when Ann Deaver, daughter of Steve, arrives on the stage. She joins the Keller family with a specific purpose, and the purpose is to get into a kind of engagement with Chris Keller. At this point, it is but necessary to know that she is already engaged to somebody, and that somebody is nobody but Larry, who is supposedly dead. So she is into the family of Keller to get into a relationship with Chris. This might be accepted by Chris Keller or even his father, Joe Keller, but this is totally unacceptable to the mother, Kate Keller. Why? This is because as a mother, she thinks that her son is alive. And if she allows Chris and Ann to go together, it means she too believes that her son is dead. He is never going to come back. Now, there's a crisis in the play. And soon we are reported that George is going to come. George, the brother to Ann and the son to Steve Deaver. He is a lawyer and he has been to the prison to meet his father, and from there he is coming straight away to the Keller family with certain questions in the mind. Kate Keller knows why George is coming. That's why she warns her husband, be aware, Keller, be aware, Joe, be ready, be alert to face George Deaver. There's a reason behind this. So far, both Ann and George have developed a kind of repugnance, a kind of hate towards their father, who has been accused of dispatching defective cylinders to be used in fighter planes. Steve is the business partner, and on that day, Joe was at home and Steve was at the factory. He was in charge, so responsibility goes to him. Defective cylinders caused accidents, and accidents caused deaths, and Steve is behind the bars. But now, George has revisited his father and has come to know the truth. And the truth is, on the day of dispatching the defective cylinders, Steve called his master, Joe, informed him about the defective cylinders, urged him, requested him not to dispatch the cylinders. But Keller was adamant because the non-delivery of the cylinders will cause him huge financial crisis. This is wartime, and Keller has to make money by hook or by crook. And for this, he has no moral scruple whether somebody dies or whatever happens to somebody in that way. And on the telephone, he orders Steve to dispatch the defective cylinders. George has known it and is coming to the Keller family to ask the answer. Perhaps there is no answer at all. In the play, we see several confrontations between Kate and Chris, between Kate and Joe, between Joe and Chris. And finally, the play ends in self-murder, in suicide, where Joe Keller shoots himself. The play is replete with several thematic concerns, and the most important ones are here. Family relationships. We have seen the relationship between husband and wife, not only in terms of Joe and Kate, but also in terms of Frank and Lydia, and Jim and Susie. Interesting ones, full of varieties. Between son and father, Chris and Larry, and their relationship to the father, Joe Keller. Relationship of George, the son, to the father, Steve, and Anne, the daughter, to the father. Layered structures, layered meanings. The play talks about family responsibility, individual expectations on the one hand, and society on the other hand. When Chris is exposed to truth, whereby we come to know in the Anagnorisis, astounding discovery. And discovery is the letter of Larry, where he writes that He has read the newspaper and he has come to know about his father and his involvement in delivering defective cylinders. Others are dying in the name of country, showing a high sense of patriotism, like Larry on the one hand, and his father on the other hand is having no scruple, moral, ethical, no social responsibility. He has to fill his pocket, and this he does as he claims to Chris for his family, for himself, so that he and his family can live happily ever after, can live a life of prosperity, can live a life of peace, can live a life of comfort. And this on the cost of others' lives. And one of the lives is his own son, Larry. Chris, while talking to his father, says that business in America has turned out to be a rat race. Everybody is running after money, creating holes everywhere, destroying the goddamn country. His father says, if I have to go to the jail, goddamn, the whole country will go to the jail. And this is the high time. This is the high note of the play, which talks about how almost each and every American is involved in that rat race to earn as much money as possible by hook or by crook, by killing others, by murdering others, epitomizing corruption, ethical, professional, vocational, personal, spiritual, and others. In the play, Joey Keller, before committing suicide, is made to realize that this is not only about his son, rather all the sons, not his family, rather all the families. Capitalism, American dream, money, money and money. Money can buy everything. Money can bring happiness, prosperity, peace, comfort. A myth, undoubtedly. Ethics of business, I've just spoken about it. And the last but not the least, torn woman, that is primarily Kate. She is torn between the duties of a wife and the duties of a doting mother. If she accepts the fact that her son is dead, it means her husband has to go to the prison. That's why she's waiting for her son to come back one day. She knows that her husband is guilty. She knows from within. Her conscience is almost clear. But she's caught in the duties of being a devoted wife. Her son is dead. And if she accepts the truth, she will have to lose her family. Her husband first, and maybe her younger son, Chris, too. So these are some important observations on the play All My Sons of Arthur Miller. I hope that you shall make maximum of this, and thank you.